Hello and welcome to my Linux training series. Each video will be about 5 minutes long and the target audience is beginners. I will be starting from a clean machine, so either from Windows or in my case actually my main machine is Linux, but I will be creating a virtual machine for installing Linux. And I highly recommend you to do the same. The first series of videos will be obviously the installation of a new machine, and then we will move on to basic commands and then later administration commands and development environment and so on and so forth. So about installation, the first thing you should do is pick a distribution. So contrary to Windows, where Windows you only have one option, you only have the Windows installer coming from Microsoft, Linux is actually only a kernel, and all the software comes from open source, or some software is also proprietary software. So some companies have packaged the kernel along with a set of open source software in different ways, and that's called a distribution. There are several popular distributions out there, and the reason why there are so many is the type of software that comes with them is different. So some of them are for more advanced users, some of them are for beginners, some of them for graphic artists, and so on and so forth. So popular ones would be Debian, Ubuntu, Red Hat, and so many others. Probably dozens of distributions out there. I chose Arch Linux because it's semi-advanced, intermediate to advanced distribution, and it gives you good control over what you have on your machine. So it's not a beginner distribution. Ubuntu would be a better choice for that. But installing Ubuntu, there are so many wizards and managers that they will actually hide the underlying system, and we would like to understand what's going on there. So Arch Linux it is, and so we will set up a virtual machine for that. I'm using VirtualBox because it works on Windows, it works on Linux, and it's free, and for our purpose it has all the functions that we need. Windows comes with a Hyper-V that you can choose as well. I haven't tested it, but I'm pretty sure it should work. And you have also stuff from VMware, but VirtualBox works fine. First thing you should do though is to make sure that virtualization technology is enabled in the BIOS. And if you have a 64-bit machine, if a VT is not enabled in BIOS, you will not be able to run 64 OS on top of your machine. So if you go here and then you create a new VM and you don't have Windows 7 64-bit, only Windows 7, it means either that you do not have 64-bit OS, like your Windows is not 64 OS, or it is 64-bit but you have forgotten to enable virtualization. Unfortunately, this differs from motherboard to motherboard and from processor to processor. So you would have to search for something like that for your own motherboard, and then it will detail where in the BIOS you have to change the setting. For some reason I don't know, usually motherboard come with VT disabled, so you actually have to enable it yourself. So that's not very difficult though, and once you do that and reboot, you are ready to create a new VM. So let's go here, create new VM, and choose Linux here, and the Arch Linux 64. I'll put the name as tutorial, and move on to the next tab. 1 gigabyte of memory is enough for our tutorial, and 8 gigabyte of hard drive is also barely enough. Can create more. We can have a bigger hard drive, but you have to change that a bit later. So this is here where you can change the setting to something larger. Don't need that much space, so 8 is enough, and you have creating a new VM. So click that and start it now. Then you have to mount an ISO. So ISO is the distribution media as a file. To get that file, you need to go to the Arch Linux website and choose download here, and then you have a series of mirrors, but you can pick the mirror that is closest to you, or you can also use BitTorrent. So for example, if you're in Canada, you can use this one and then pick that file. So it has to be extension ISO, and it's about half a gigabyte. Once you have downloaded one Arch Linux ISO for installation, you don't need to re-download even if you install another machine later, because the installer will download the latest version from the internet. Okay, so what's that guy going here? Starting view. Don't know, no idea what it needs that. Okay, so start, and then the machine boots. So pick the first option, and then it would boot from that ISO. So at this point, our hard drive in the virtual machine is still completely empty, and also we are not touching anything on the host machine. So if we do anything wrong, the worst thing that can happen is we mess up our VM, but we can always restart from scratch by deleting all the files and starting again. Okay, so after a short time, we boot into the command line, and that is it for today.